Hello, everyone, and welcome to PR Explored. I'm so happy to be back today. PR Explored is the PR podcast where we delve into trends and topics related to public relations. I'm your host, Michelle Garrett, a PR consultant and writer, and my guest today is Andy Lambert. Yay! Welcome, Andy.
Dell, good to see you.
I have been a fan and follower of yours for quite a while, and I always appreciate, your advice focused on social media, primarily for B2B companies, which is, my where I like to play as well. And
Yeah.
so it's always interesting to see, what you're sharing. And I know you have such an interesting background. You've written two books. I mean, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'll do the very quick version. Co-founded a company in 2016 called Content Cal, social media marketing software business. It was my second startup, but this one went very well. And yeah, I ran everything related to growth, so everything across sales and marketing. And yeah, became the fastest growing company in our category of social media marketing platforms. And predominantly that growth was driven through word of mouth and content marketing, which then got me all very interested in all of the things we're going to talk about today. How you build a reputation at scale for a business. And the story I tell many times is that, throughout the journey of growth, I heard so many times like our customers and prospects at the time would have gone like, "Hey, you guys feel like you're everywhere." And I was like, "No, we don't have the budget for that. We're just everywhere that you are." And that was like the biggest signal to me that our marketing approaches were right. So anyway, we sold the business to Adobe in 2021, so 5 years after founding it, which was obviously amazing. I spent 4 years building products at Adobe. I wrote two books, as you said, in that process. The latest one, Spheres of Influence, was basically trying to put a language behind something that we did at Content Cal that I didn't quite know how to describe. So it's like something is happening here. I needed to codify it and make it a teachable thing rather than like, hey, we just grew through word of mouth. People loved us, used us, and we just grew organically. I was like, there was more going on than that. So Spheres of Influence was the result of that, which is basically what I just said. Like people felt like we were everywhere. And that was the whole concept behind, we're just in everyone's spheres of influence. So that's it. That's me.
That's so great. I mean, I love what you said. Everywhere that you are, I wrote that down because I feel like that I have that same conversation sometimes with clients because they're not always so interested in the measurement piece, but when they walk into an event and the CEO and people are coming up to him and people are saying, "We're seeing you everywhere." Well, that's the idea. That's what we're trying to do everywhere that your audience is looking for you. That's where you want to be showing up. So that's right
Very
on.
those second order effects that don't show up in marketing dashboards, but you can only get through those qualitative interactions. That's where all of the goodness is. So yeah, a million times yes to what you just said.
Well, I am so excited that you are spending a little time with me and my audience today, and I can't wait to dive in because we are talking about. I'm just going to introduce the topic a little bit because we're talking about social media and PR, particularly for B2B companies. And I think we're going to focus a lot on LinkedIn, and we might talk a little bit about YouTube and anything else that Andy thinks that we should be talking about. So we are going to dive into some questions that I have for Andy, but I would love for you to ask your questions as we go. We're happy to answer. I'm sure Andy's happy to answer questions. That makes the discussion more, valuable to you. So please feel free to ask questions if you have any, and we'll get to those. So I'm just going to start firing away. And knowing that whatever Andy says today will be true for today, and then
Yeah.
by tomorrow it will be because I just saw your update for you do your updates on Tuesday, right? I just saw the one on so we'll probably get to some of that. So
Yeah. Let's dive in.
So on LinkedIn, you provide weekly social media updates geared toward B2B companies. So what are you watching in particular right now? So what developments are really standing out to you?
Yeah, it's a big question, so I'll try and keep it short. So yeah, LinkedIn in particular is one that I'm watching very carefully. Obviously, latest algorithm changes are interesting for a couple of reasons. One, uh, we're seeing a lot more, even more so than we've seen before, engagement with personal profiles rather than company pages, like 63% delta between the two. So much more interaction on personal profiles. Fine. I think we all knew that, but now we've got kind of data to prove it. They've changed the algorithm as well, which is focused more on unique expertise, subject matter expertise, which is
Mhm.
good, which has therefore meant that lots of more of the kind of LinkedIn creators are bemoaning the fact they're not getting the same amount of reach as it did before. And if I think back 5 years, my LinkedIn was booming. I was getting like 50,000, 100,000 impressions on my content, which just doesn't happen anymore, right? And that was okay. There was like that kind of COVID boom where LinkedIn started to get even more personal than it is right now, because they're always tweaking the dial. But I think they're getting the balance right now, which is okay. We're not in this to go viral on LinkedIn. I don't subscribe to like the viral hacks and the hooks that you need to do on LinkedIn. I like the kind of keeping it real approach, which is good quality lived experience, well articulated on LinkedIn with a defined subject matter targeted at a well-defined audience. That's all we need to focus on. So as long as we get that as a fundamental, right? So that's the thing I'm tracking very closely, and then I'm tracking that very closely into what formats are working, because even though it's always subject first, so like the story comes before the format. You're a PR professional, you get this, right? So but of course, if there is any upside to using different formats, I pay attention to that, right? So video is something I continue to do, even though video performs continually poorly, right? It's one of those things that I've invested in. I've probably done 900 videos on LinkedIn now. I think every single week I do my 90-second roundup of the 4 social media news updates you need to know. I've been doing that solidly for 7 years now, 8
Wow.
years actually. So obviously over that time there's a lot of like second order effects that come off that, but really the reach is about the same as it was. Probably get 5,000 people watch it, maybe. I mean, great, that's fine. I'll take 5,000 people in in a room anytime, right? For sure. But it doesn't go viral by any means. But I carry on doing it because video builds memory structures, and that's the thing. Like, in this, why I resonated so much with the story that you shared at the beginning, Michelle. Because when I turn up to events or I'm on calls, people are like, "Oh, hey, you're the guy that does those roundups," I think, and that's the really important thing.
Yeah.
Numbers will never quite help you justify how important that part is. Anyway, back onto formats, the other things I'm tracking. So some practical tips. Carousels are outperforming every other content type on LinkedIn. So they're your kind of PDF uploads. So you'll see this. They're called document posts. They're a little bit cumbersome to create, but
Yeah.
they're the swipe through things on LinkedIn that you'll see where it's like, here's your top 7 tips for creating a standout PR campaign, for example, and like swipe through those. They're generating a lot of reach and engagement, so that's good. Also, and this is the format I sleep on, to be honest, is poll posts are doing wonderfully right now. So if there's any insight that you want to get from an audience, polls are both underused and achieve a whole heap of reach. So yeah, they're two tips. Outside of that, generally, as long as you've got real good quality subject matter expertise, these are the things that that LinkedIn cares the most about. Reshares, don't bother. So many people do that. LinkedIn are all about original content right now. Anyway, that's what I'm fixing.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a million
Okay.
things to talk about, so I'm going to restrain myself.
No, I just wanna follow up on a couple of things you said. So no reshares. I mean, I usually I do those sparingly, but when I do, I'm doing it to help, whoever that is have more, get more visibility for their post, but you're saying it doesn't really work.
Well, what you're doing is very generous, right? So, and it has for sure, I'm guessing if you're doing this on behalf of like, a client or something you're working with, then it makes sense because it's a signal to the algorithm. Shares are like the highest value engagement metric, right?
Okay,
So this is good. This is good to help your client. But if, let's take, I see in a lot of situations where um, the business's company page posts something on LinkedIn and the
mm,
CEO reshares it. No point. You might as well not bother. Like it does nothing. LinkedIn does not want like recycled similar content. The thing
okay,
you should do in that scenario is rewrite whatever that message was in the tone of the CEO and post it as an original thing. Um, and yeah, that's where LinkedIn is just super fixated on original content right now. And in
okay,
fact,
okay,
that's a trend across all the platforms. Actually, Instagram are
okay.
really turning the dial on like content aggregators, like pushing out on resharing things, because that doesn't really help the consumer of LinkedIn if they're seeing the same stuff in their feed. That's a bad user experience. So LinkedIn are trying to engineer away from that.
Well, on that note, let me ask you about AI because I feel like a lot of posts read like they're written by AI, comments as well.
Uh,
So, what does LinkedIn think about all that?
so let's tackle them as two separate things. So um, let's talk about AI comments and replies. And number one, like, don't do it, please. Is the number one thing. But LinkedIn is clamping down on it in a level that I've never seen before.
Okay.
Uh, you can search this on Google. It's very interesting. LinkedIn. There's some class actions against LinkedIn at the moment because LinkedIn have been shutting down companies or third parties' access to the LinkedIn API at a rate that I've never seen before.
Mm,
For anyone that's breaching LinkedIn's terms of service. And a lot of that is in like these comment bots and those tools that allow automatic comments. Um, so the key takeaway is choose your LinkedIn tech stack very wisely. Make sure it's compliant with its terms of service because um, products that are not compliant with LinkedIn's terms of service both risk the user and themselves as a company. So try and avoid it. But LinkedIn are clamping down hard on that. So you're going to see less of that. You're going to see less engagement farming. Those
yeah.
posts that we often see on LinkedIn, which have like comment playbook to get my get my playbook, or the
Oh,
that's it's horrible. But and that's going away. All of that engagement farming is going away now. AI generated content. LinkedIn aren't doing anything about that in itself in terms of like AI writing,
mhm.
um, and I think that's just up to our own curatorial judgment. We can be the change we want to see of like higher quality content because yes, there is a lot of suboptimal stuff on LinkedIn, but that's always going to be the case. And I'm less concerned about that. I only care about the stuff that we can do um, to use LinkedIn for our advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm a writer. I have a writing background, and, with a focus on PR, but I just have such an affinity, for writers and good writing and, in my opinion, using AI to write your email and your LinkedIn post and your I just don't, I don't really see the need for that, and it does take out the authenticity, and I feel like that is what people are wanting, and obviously, it sounds like the platforms are gravitating in that direction too.
From a comment point of view, because there's a lot of fakeness there, right? And I think it's from my own point of view. I try not to see AI as like black and white, and that's not good or bad, right? It's all a
Right.
use. It's all a use of a tool. I'll use AI to refine my thinking all the time. Like my flow is I speak my thoughts and have AI condense the kind of the thinking into a narrative. Like take even like my basic roundups. I take the transcript and use Claude to then turn the transcript into that social post, right? So it's original thinking, and of which I'll do the final edits. So it's my editing partner. But again, I think it's a case of AI isn't bad in itself, but if you're using AI to try and amplify a really thin subject that you just don't know that much about,
Oh, yeah.
it's yeah, trash in, trash out, basically,
Yeah. So you wanna share your real expertise that, the area that you are an expert in, and that's I saw somebody else talking about, you just wanna be really focused on that more so on LinkedIn now. It's like you just wanna be really clear about your area of expertise.
Correct, exactly. And AI is helping people, provided you've got like a depth of knowledge in a particular domain. AI can help you articulate that in a way that's concise enough for LinkedIn. And that not everyone's blessed with the same kind of writing skill set as someone like you, Michelle. So I do like the fact of that's why I see AI as useful. But I have noticed actually LinkedIn have rolled back some of their AI prompts for posts, which were terrible. Like they were really encouraging like just people just to post just really thin content and
Mhm,
so on.
mhm.
So actually what I'm now seeing is like higher quality, deeper thinking is working better on LinkedIn. And that's the way it should be.
And yes, I agree. I did think it was interesting what you said about the carousels are so cumbersome to like, I've done those for clients and posted them before, and it's like you have to upload a PDF or whatever. It just feels so, I don't know, it feels very old school to me in some way, but I guess
Yeah,
that's
it is. It is.
what
It
we're
is
doing.
very strange. LinkedIn still baffles me, to be honest, with some of the choices. I mean, we are where we are.
Well, it's tiring, right? That's what I was saying yesterday to somebody. I'm like, it just sometimes LinkedIn just makes me tired. It's like I know I need to be over there, but it's just so, oof. And then the polls. I mean, that feels very like almost Twitter X. I mean,
Mm.
I think that's odd. I feel like I don't understand why those are doing so well, but I'll have to try that maybe.
Yeah, again, it's like it's one of those things. I use those suggestions like cautiously, right? Because it doesn't work for everyone, and only don't use them to growth hack or try and engagement bait anything. It's like, oh, if there is something meaningful where you want to get a call from your audience on a particular topic, great, go for it. And they're performing well, especially this is great in any B2B context because we always need market insight, right? So
Right.
um, and if we can get that market insight whilst improving our reach, then everyone's a winner. It's just using it judiciously. And again, you would only use it infrequently. And I think that's possibly the reason why the data is showing that those formats are performing well, purely on the basis that one, because carousels are a bigger lift, right? So you put more effort into creating them. Likely they're probably better quality, hence they tend to perform quite well. And polls aren't used very frequently at all. So
Yeah.
therefore, when they are used, they probably generate, oh, this is a bit different on LinkedIn because it's mostly passive. So it's a different pattern for a user to engage with. So, but if everyone starts doing it very quickly, they'll become the lowest performing thing. So, swings and roundabouts.
Oh, that's the thing. It's like, and I feel like clients sometimes I expect, they expect you to know and be the expert on, these what works and it's like, well, we can try some things. But, it could change that maybe that worked 2 weeks ago and doesn't work now as well. But I feel like the engagement is definitely different and down lower. So I feel like this is probably as good a time as any to experiment a little bit because, what do we have to lose?
Exactly, and I think with LinkedIn, looking at this, looking at the question you've got on the screen as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to talk through this question first before because it feels like it's
Yeah, well, I put it up there because we were kind of talking about the formats. And so the question is, with LinkedIn, it can be difficult to keep up with what kinds of posts perform best. What would you advise as far as frequency and format?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a bit of a how long's a piece of string type of question. It's like it really does depend. Uh, LinkedIn rewards consistency, and that consistency might mean as low as like once a week. General best practice is about 3 a week, and also spaced out. I always personally will post every other day, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or it's actually Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday actually that I do. But I try and give higher the posts that I really want to go well. I will give them space to breathe, right? Which means
Okay.
not posting something on the following day, because
Okay.
LinkedIn, as we all know, has a longer half life. You know, people are going to see the content the following day. This isn't like Instagram where it's you just need that engagement immediately and it disappears. The tail off is real, but the tail off is slower in the performance of the post. So
Okay.
give it time to breathe. If you're posting too much, then you're essentially cannibalizing your own reach. So
Okay.
don't post too frequently is a key thing. But
Okay.
a regular cadence and consistency is good for the algorithm, but also just good for the end user and your target audience. What can they expect? And for me to lighten that cognitive load, that's why I've always thought in like content topics or content pillars, really, right? So Tuesday, as you said, is the day I do a social media roundup.
Mhm.
Monday is like a general thought leadership post, and then Thursday is going to be some like best practice or tip or something like that. So it lowers the cognitive load when you have like a framework to operate within, right? So that's
Yeah.
what I typically do. Uh, Posting times, I've always found the mornings have been the time. There's been some suggestions to say that, well, some other data pointed to good performance in the afternoons. All data historically has always been LinkedIn posting in the morning, like irrespective of time zone, 8:30, 9 a.m., first thing in the morning has typically been the good time. But some of the latest data I've been seeing, and I haven't validated this because I'm old habits die hard, even with someone that's a social media nerd like me. I'd still post in the morning, but where like 3 p.m. has actually been a really good time where people have a bit of downtime in their day. They're having our kind of afternoon, coffee or something like that, having a
Mhm.
scroll in. So I think that it will also depend massively on your target audience. So I try not to give general best practices on this because, you know, depending on who you're targeting, you might be targeting like CFOs, for example, and they are probably not scrolling at 3 p.m. They're probably working late. And maybe even 7 p.m. or something like that when they're getting the train back out of the office. I don't know. But yeah, experimentation there is important. Timing is not critical either. I mean, this is all secondary stuff compared to the actual story of what it is that you're trying to say and who's it for. I
Mhm.
think like my general bugbear with like social media experts or gurus or however they call themselves, we've got fixated by trying to think in hacks and tips and tricks, and all that does is distract from the core thing. If we could just say really good things, high quality thinking that is all wrapped around the things that our target audience deeply care about, like everything else falls into line from that. Content quality over everything. And yeah, this is why I've never bothered with like, I have no time for anyone talking about like, oh, here's hashtag strategy. All of that's window dressing for like, yeah, secondary stuff where it makes people feel all professional that they're talking about this. None of that matters. Timing doesn't matter. Even like some of the like consistency stuff matters less. Still,
Mhm.
that's a bit more important, but matters
Yeah.
less than the core subject topic. And just a final thing to close off this thought on this question is like, um, even though I've already shared some tips on format,
Mhm.
LinkedIn is the most format independent platform. Where it doesn't really matter. Some of my posts are text only, and I see lots of data. Text only posts are performing really well. You know, video posts can absolutely go viral if they're good, for sure. So it doesn't really matter. Whatever the medium is not the most important part of this. The good posts are going to perform well. That's all.
Yeah. I'd say the same thing about PR. It's like, well, if you have a good story, you know, we can work with that, you know, but if you don't, we can put all the money behind it and all the wire services or what, and it's probably still not going to perform as well as something that's, you know, obviously compelling. So
Correct.
it's common sense, but I think you're right that so much of, you know, I mean, in every profession related to marketing on the digital end, it's become like, it's so hard to find people that are really experts, and those are the people you want to find and follow and really kind of live and die a little bit on their advice, because there are a lot of people that are not experts, but you know, think they are, pretend to be.
Yeah, exactly. And the ones you can always tell an expert because they'll make it sound more complex than it actually is. When someone is an expert and has lived and breathed it, they'll tend to speak through it in a much more simple way. That's always a sign. If someone's making something sound really complex, it's probably because they don't know it well enough.
That is, that's really important what you just said. And hashtags, I had seen that those do not matter at all now, but I don't know if they ever did. So who knows?
No, not really useful for tracking, but LinkedIn.
Well, yeah, like if you're in an event or something, that's the thing that I used to like about Twitter X, is that I could be at a conference or something and I could see who was posting with the hashtag and follow along with something. But yeah, I don't know. I still see people use them on LinkedIn. I feel like maybe though they copied the post from Instagram, so they used 20 hashtags.
Probably, yeah, or if you're getting suboptimal advice, either way, doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't worry about that. You heard it here. So, I am going to let's talk about why LinkedIn and YouTube are especially important for B2B companies. Because do you agree that those are the two most important social platforms for B2B?
Yeah, 100%. The ones that we can do. I think some people might throw Reddit into the mix, but that is next level difficult to go after. So, and most people shouldn't. So, however, LinkedIn, YouTube, definitely. And I think, yeah, I mean, both predominantly really. And I think this is why like PR has just got so much more important, right? Because we talk about AI search or AEO or GEO or whatever your kind of flavor of acronym is. But the reality is this is just digital PR, right? Which is just PR, right? This is just having other people talk about us. And this is like the lens that we need to think of like YouTube and LinkedIn through as well. So a couple of things. Number one, these two platforms have just got more important. YouTube always had like a search component to it, which in an SEO value to it, but now it's next level. And obviously LinkedIn is now the number one cited resource for professional queries across AI platforms. That's flipping massive, right? And that kind of like just adds so much fuel to the fire of why we should be doing LinkedIn. And the important part about all of this is like none of this content needs to go viral either, right? And this is not about trying to like engagement bait and hook our way or hack our way to success. This is about just high quality content that is really focused around the terms that we want to own. Again, the terms we want to own, like the problems of our customer. This is where like your social strategy needs to be so tightly coupled with your broader marketing and business strategy. And I've seen this time and time again where, especially in B2B, social media is like run by like the most junior like intern in the business. It's like, oh, let's just put it out on socials. This is like the bane of my life, where you're like, this is the world's biggest and most important communication platform, and it's like a flippant, oh, I'll just chuck it out on socials. No, 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 no. That is not what we do. This is now so strategically important. And I've seen this time and time again. A couple of real examples. I wrote about this in my newsletter actually last week. I was searching, I was being lazy, and I could have looked in my Substack articles or archives for a piece of research that I did. But I was like, oh, I wonder if it'll appear on Google. So I put it into Google, like the term I was going after was like best content strategy. And this is like an acronym. That's why I do air quotes, BEST. Like there's an acronym. It's a content strategy I came up with. Yeah. And basically, the Google AI overview right at the top, above everything else. Bear in mind, best content strategy is a pretty chunky term, right? It didn't cite my website. It cited a LinkedIn post I did on this and a YouTube video that someone had posted of me talking about this. And I was like, in that moment, my website was nowhere to be found. It's probably on like page 3 or 4 of Google because I haven't done any SEO work on it. But the fact is that singular topic, front and center, cited by the Google AI overview, bang it, right? Like that is the most valuable real estate on the internet that now contains something about me. And I was like, I knew this to be true, but when you see it and experience it firsthand, you're like, it's visceral. You're like, holy moly, something has changed here. Like this is the work of like 6 months to try and get you to the first page of Google if you're lucky. Yeah. Now, PR has got to stay on LinkedIn and YouTube. This is why this stuff is so important and why, we need to think about like LinkedIn and YouTube, not just through the lens of, our own search terms that we want to go after, thinking about these two platforms as search platforms, not just content platforms that we just want to post our latest company announcement to. Don't do that. Think about it properly. And also, don't just think about these two platforms through the lens of the stuff that we're going to post. Like, what do we want to say? Amplify what other people are saying, empower others. And this is where, this goes back to my book, Spheres of Influence, of like, who else in your industry, again, this is PR thinking that better than anyone, right? Who else in the industry is talking about this? Who cares about this story? Who has something to say? Influencers, micro communities, just other personalities. Get them to talk about you, because that's the stuff that builds the narrative around a business. And yeah, I mean, like the way most B2Bs use LinkedIn today, and it's so far removed from like how I've just been describing it. It's like the company page is basically just a list of like, we're delighted to announce, or, oh, we're hiring, we're looking for a new senior manager of X. And like, that ain't going to do anything at all. And the only people that are liking it are the people that are within the company anyway. And the YouTube is just typically like some poorly cut stuff of like a CEO talking at an event or something, where you're like, you're missing the opportunity. B2Bs need to think like a media company more than they ever have done before, right? Because that's the thing that will separate you. Anyway, I could talk forever, so I'm going to let you get a word in edgeways.
I'm taking notes. Sorry. I'm busy writing things down that you're saying. No, think like a media company. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When my clients get on YouTube, I work with manufacturing clients often, and they will show videos of their the equipment that they make in action and things like that. And that's really powerful for them. And then coupled with the trade media coverage that I help them secure, that helps them, surfaces them in those the AI driven search, the GEO, the AEO, whatever you want to call it. So it's SEO, GEO, all of this is really important for that. And I feel like that's the thing that people sometimes forget about too, is like, you're not only doing this for the person, the audience anymore. It is its own audience. The search is an audience, right? So that's what we need to be thinking about too. Even if 2 people watch your video on YouTube, it's still helping you.
Don't care. Like, it could, like the LinkedIn post that was cited in the example that I gave you, I think it had 6 likes. It was a LinkedIn article. It's like, I don't care. But the point is like, what we're doing, we're training the internet to remember us. right? So,
Right.
and in the same way that we fight for mental availability in the minds of our consumer or our customer, right?
Mhm.
That's the number one job of marketing: mental availability. Be first to mind when someone needs a piece of manufacturing equipment or a mobile phone or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
First to mind. So now, like, yes, that is still the job, but we also want to be first to mind for AI. For basically, I've started just calling it search everywhere
Yeah.
optimization. We want to be first to mind on any AI platform, which might include Google AI overviews or Claude or ChatGPT. And being first to mind there means, LinkedIn and YouTube are two of the most highly cited parts of that. So
Mhm.
as long as we are focusing on the search terms that our audience care about, and then deploying that, yes, through websites still matter. So yes, blog content still matters, but
Mhm.
deploying that through YouTube and LinkedIn, that's a very different way of thinking about those two platforms, because you're thinking now through the lens of an SEO person. You're not thinking about this through the lens of, hey, this is what I want to say. Here's my announcement that's posted on LinkedIn and YouTube. It's a much more strategic lens we need to look through.
Yes. Yes. And the other thing that I always remind people is that Google owns YouTube.
Hmm.
So that's another reason it's important, because I think a lot of people, when they hear YouTube, they're like, "Oh my gosh, we do not have the energy, the budget, the time," like, and, as somebody who, I'm playing with it myself now, because it does help you show up, because it will, if you do have to do certain things, you do have to use hashtags on YouTube. I mean, I think so. Maybe you could talk about that. But yeah, I think that I've seen some of that help me come up and search for for terms that I want to show up for.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I would still go back to the point of, like, your title and topic of the content is the most important element. And I want to give like two other extra bits of detail related to AI search and these two platforms, a bit more specifics. So YouTube, the stuff that ranks the best is your long form content, because obviously you've got YouTube Shorts, which is like the kind of TikTok feed, and then YouTube long form. It's the long form stuff that's more valuable from that, because obviously it's richer, deeper context, and content, transcripts, etc. So yeah, long form on YouTube is important. And the interesting thing with LinkedIn, because we often just think about LinkedIn from like a posting in the feed perspective, the majority of citations on LinkedIn are actually coming from LinkedIn articles, not posts. Uh,
LinkedIn are okay.
60
Okay.
is when I say not posts, it's 60/40 towards articles.
Okay. Now that's really interesting, because I did that for a long time and I kind of took a break because I felt like, oh, it's too much. But it's really, if you're already doing the content for, say, your newsletter or your blog or whatever it is, you can repurpose that content and use it as a LinkedIn article, right? Couldn't you do that?
Percent. I mean, and I talking of repurposing, it's all about figuring out what the right workflow is. But let's take your manufacturing client. If I was them, I'd, shoot the long form video of, like, walkthrough of the machine or whatever it is. You've got the transcript from that. Put the transcript into, your LLM of choice. You obviously give it your own human judgment. That's a LinkedIn newsletter right there. So, you're doing the same thing at the same time. And also importantly, you've got then LinkedIn and YouTube working together on that same term that you want to go after, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does now, but I do want to ask a question to clarify. LinkedIn articles versus LinkedIn newsletter. Are you seeing that the same, or talk about
It's
that a little?
it's actually the same. It's a really good question. Thanks for clarifying that. It's the same thing. Um, I run a LinkedIn newsletter. I love it. It's been brilliant, actually. I wouldn't give that one up. Um, so LinkedIn newsletters I personally recommend, and LinkedIn newsletters, all they are articles, but with a subscription layer over the top of it. So really, you get kind of like a double whammy from a LinkedIn newsletter, because you get all of the juice from the article, which obviously, as we know, is valuable for AI search, but you've also got the email subscriber base over the top of it, so that when you publish a newsletter, Michelle gets a ping to say Andy's published on LinkedIn, here's the latest article. So you stay top of mind from a human perspective because you're landing in people's inboxes. You're also staying top of mind from an AI perspective because at its core, the newsletter is just a collection of articles.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's hard sometimes to think about. I probably saw this advice a long time ago, but there was some advice about publishing on LinkedIn after you'd published it on your own blog or site or your newsletter, and then so it didn't. I don't know. I don't know if that's even relevant now.
I actually know what you mean about this. This is about unique content and not having content appearing on in different places. Because I publish the same content on my Substack newsletter as I do on my LinkedIn newsletter, just different audiences, different distribution. And yeah, I see no penalty from that, but it doesn't hurt though, just to give it some tweaks between different versions of an article, because you might want to have, let's say you put the article on your website blog, for example. I would personally run that through, probably with AI. I would give that a little rewrite before putting it on my LinkedIn. Really, it's only because Google likes original content. So yeah, it's always good to give it a little bit of a tweak. I don't really have any other evidence to suggest that it's bad, but I think it's just general good best practice. Doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we're trying to make it easy for people, but also you do have to put a little effort in. So, I mean, you don't want to just phone it in, I guess. So, we're totally off track with our questions, but that's totally fine because this is all very relevant and important for us to be talking about. So let's see where we're at here. Oh, well, we've been talking about YouTube, but this question is really about again, whenever I bring up YouTube, or often when I bring it up, people will kind of roll their eyes and cringe a little bit, like, oh, do we have to be on there? So do B2B companies need to have a presence on YouTube now? What do you think about that?
I think we probably covered that answer in the previous one. I would say yes, really. Yeah, nothing more to say to that. I can't think of a scenario where you wouldn't really. Yeah, maybe someone could message me with a complex scenario that means that they wouldn't be on it. But this is the best possible platform you have to demonstrate your expertise, the things that you do, go behind the scenes. So much interesting stuff. Again, it's our job to think like a media company, behave like a media company, because quite frankly, it's what's happening with our economy in general is that very few businesses have a true kind of like differentiated moat around them. Everything's becoming commoditized very quickly. Really, distribution becomes our only advantage. The way that we optimize for distribution is thinking like a media company, trying to think about what thinking like a media company actually means is looking at the things that we do inside the business and thinking, okay, well, that's kind of interesting, our kind of manufacturing process. How can we then deploy that on YouTube that answers a common question that people are asking in and around our category? And that's it. So yeah, the short version of that is yes, you do.
I think too, when it's coming from the company, they own that perspective, and then it's authentic because now we have AI generated fakes and all of that. So I feel like when it's coming from the company, it's you can trust that more so than you can anywhere else, right? Because it's coming from us, we own it. This is our stuff.
Yeah, agreed.
And then also, I just want to ask, and I know you're not like a videographer, but how is it important if companies want to do more on YouTube? Is it important to spend have a big budget for that, or can you be pretty scrappy about it? And do people just kind of want the real deal?
I think, yeah, there's room for both, really. I think in the general day-to-day, the real deal is good. Some of the top performing content across the internet is usually someone pointing a phone at themselves, saying something interesting, right? So humans will make your content perform so much better. I know that will make most B2B businesses want to crawl under the nearest sofa and hide, because people hate being on camera. But yeah, I think what I'm seeing is more and more B2B businesses hiring people specifically because they're good on camera and good at YouTube. And that just goes to show like the modern businesses are really taking this seriously, where that's actually defining your marketing hires. Like, are you good at YouTube? Are you willing to get in front of camera? Then cool. Yeah, you're hired. So yeah, I think it's scrappy is fine, but also there are also times for good quality, high quality production. But that's like your marquee type of stuff that you'd only do like maybe once a quarter, right? There's a time and a place for that. But every video doesn't need to follow that, for sure.
No, I like that because yeah, you could have a budget for, maybe a couple of really high quality, well-produced, pieces a quarter or something, and then just do some things that are less, fancy. So,
Mhm.
because I feel like people just they don't wanna have to guess if it's AI anymore, right? They wanna just know that it's a person or I don't know. I feel like I hear a lot of people trying to distinguish the difference, so.
Oh, it's going to get increasingly hard, to be honest. And yeah, so we need to lean into that as much as we can, right? The kind of unique humanity, the stories within our business, the subject matter expertise, all of that stuff. Yeah, this is why that whole kind of thinking like a media company, yada yada, is so important. Because to your point, AI is eroding trust, and trust is a number one buying and decision making criteria for everyone. And trust is not a rational human emotion, right? It's not based on logic, it's based on feels. And that's one of the reasons why like we had such a push when we were building Content Cal to have the faces of our company and the people behind the scenes like so front and center. It wasn't for reasons of ego, it's just for reasons of well, if people know who they're dealing with, they're going to be more likely to buy from that person. It's very simple.
That is great advice for your website too, because I cannot tell you. I mean, I've been, in marketing and PR for quite a while, and used to be that you would always put your leadership team and your maybe even a picture of your entire team on your website. And I cannot tell you now how few companies seem to do that. It's often they don't even have bios. There's no pictures. I feel like you need to be emphasizing that you are human beings and, human beings wanna buy from other human beings, whether it's B2B, B2C, whatever it is. I feel like we need to lean into that a little bit.
For sure. And I think this is going to matter greatly. And already, even in like consumer world, we're seeing a growth of more kind of artisanal brands and like smaller brands with like purpose and meaning and more of a kind of cult following around them.
Mhm.
And that same will become true of B2Bs, because the bar has been lowered, right? Anyone can like craft pretty good messaging, generic corporate stuff, on a
Mm.
website. Anyone can spin that up in a moment. But what they can't spin up is like who you are and the stories you tell as an organization. That's the thing that's true, does become truly defensible. Because when people have bought you and will stay with you because they're like, we believe in Michelle, then that's the only moat that you can create around a business. Yeah, I really, really do believe that. Such a good point you bring up, Michelle.
Yeah. Well, I know we're running out of time. I'm gonna ask you one more question.
Go
And
ahead.
I think I think I know what you're gonna say, but, it feels like social media advice changes and moves so fast. What are some things every B2B company can focus on that will help them regardless of how the algorithms change?
Yeah, to be honest, I think I put in the main really. this is just drown yourself in customer insight, and the more you understand your end user, the more you get customer empathy, and the problems that they're facing, the better stories you can tell, and those stories then need to be told through a human lens, LinkedIn and YouTube, and a couple of of tactical things, because I know there was another question that you were going to ask on question 6. I'm actually going to address that real quick, because we're talking about AEO and GEO and that kind of thing, and there's a couple of quick wins that people can apply. So we've already spoken about the platforms that matter most, which is LinkedIn, YouTube, and Reddit. But a couple of other things that's really worthwhile knowing. They not really social, but I want to bring them up anyway, right? Sure. So we said Reddit, super important. Like a real quick win. I'm going to give you 3 quick wins here. Like, one, if there is not a Wikipedia page for your business, set one up like immediately, because Wikipedia is cited very heavily. So we need a wiki page. Number 2, have a look at your kind of main corporate hero messaging. And if you're, obviously I operate in B2B tech, right? So, but I'm sure this is different for each of us. We're probably, as a business, on a bunch of different review sites. And on every single review site, we probably describe ourselves slightly differently. I was noticing it the other day with my own business. I was like, every different review site is slightly different. Update that so you've all got the same like bio and heading. You describe yourself in exactly the same way, which is like your most aligned messaging that you want to be known for. Then apply the same also to your LinkedIn, to like all of your personal profiles, your company profile. If we're trying to teach the internet to remember us, give the internet an easy time by making sure, very simply, like, go do this tomorrow, hygiene factor, 15 minutes, look at every single third-party resource that you have that you at least control, whether it's Google My Business page, Trustpilot, whatever it is. Make sure that is all like speaking the same language. That's going to give you a really good start with appearing in AEO, search everywhere, whatever, AI search, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Was there a third one? Was that it?
Was that, I said 3. I think I covered it. I don't know. My brain's fried now. It's 6 p.m. So go with that.
No, I think that is very important. The Wikipedia, I'm curious because I feel like there's certain criteria you have to meet for them to allow you to have a page, but I think that's something everybody can look into and figure out for them. And it's good advice because I do see those coming up. And Reddit, I loved what you said about Reddit, because I feel like there's a lot of talk about Reddit, but for anyone who's ever tried to do anything over on Reddit, well, Godspeed, because it is not for everyone, and it can be really difficult. So, yeah. Sure. But I love having you here. Thank you so much, Andy. Please follow Andy. I'm going to put up his website again, and I'm just really grateful for your time today. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.